Hello, my name is Riley Fitzpatrick, and I will be discussing the health and environmental issues surrounding the recycling of used lead-acid batteries, as well as presenting several interventions that could attempt to address the issues. Approximately 85% of the total global consumption of lead is for the production of lead-acid batteries. The main use of these batteries are in motorized vehicles, for storage of energy generated by renewables, and for backup power supplies. This is an expanding industry as the demand for renewable energy sources, as well as motor vehicles, particularly in countries undergoing economic development, continues to increase. Lead-acid batteries are being recycled at a rate of almost 99% in both regulated industries and unregulated or informal establishments. In fact, due to their simple construction, half of all batteries end up in the informal economy, which is a significant source of environmental contamination and human exposure to lead worldwide. As you can see in the bottom image, the informal recycling of ULAB is frequently carried out without the necessary protective equipment to control lead emissions and prevent exposure. This slide displays the process of recycling ULAB in the informal sector. Image A shows the batteries collected from local dump sites to be recycled. Upon collection, the acid inside the battery case is typically dumped on the ground or into a drainage canal or sewer. The casing of the battery is then broken open using an axe or machete. The lead plates inside, which make up 60% of the battery weight, are pulled out by hand and dumped onto the ground. You can see the remnants in Image B. The melting of lead is done by a smelter, shown in Image C. Smelters often lack protection against exposure to toxic lead fumes. The melted lead is then poured into a casing to harden, shown in D. Once hardened, the lead nuggets each weigh about 40 kilograms. So why do it? Many communities in low and middle income countries rely on the informal recycling for their livelihoods, as the demand for lead is high, and this can be a lucrative job for many workers. Lead exposure can lead to serious health issues that impact the whole body. Young children and women of childbearing age are particularly vulnerable to exposure to and toxic effects of lead. The main routes of exposure and absorption of lead are inhalation and ingestion. Exposure to excessive levels can cause damage to brain and kidney, impair hearing, and lead to numerous other associated problems. The burden of exposure to lead from informal recycling of ULAB is not distributed equitably. The regions of Africa and Southeast Asia were most vulnerable to dailies from lead toxicity at informal ULAB recycling sites. So how do we address this important issue? I had the pleasure of interviewing professionals from different disciplines to get their take on how to address the health and environmental consequences of informal ULAB recycling. Our first professional is Christine Fitzpatrick, a special education teacher in San Francisco who works with children ages K through 5th. Christine has worked for the SFUSD for over 20 years. Christine shares with us her perspective from the position of both an educator and a mother.
I have an understanding of the potential neurological and health problems created by lead because as a parent, I, living in an older city that had lead paint, our kids were tested for lead when they were very young. I learned from it initially from my pediatrician. So that was one of the ways that I was educated about it. And people in my mother's group were very concerned about it. We had one child who did have high lead levels and had to go through like a whole chelating process. So it was definitely a real concern. Starts with doctors, teachers, and I don't know, maybe getting it out there. It has to get out there in the media somehow. And with social media now, it seems like it might not be as hard as it would have been in the past because more countries are connected to social media now.
Our next professional is Brian Sutton, a current second year at Fordham Law School. Brian was also a Peace Corps volunteer in Zambia from 2017 to 2019.
Materials that I read, it would seem to me that a potential solution would be government policy that provided for purchasing these batteries from these subsistence smelters to offer that economic incentive to not smelt them down themselves, but still collect them and buy them to the government to recycle in a safe way. Buying them back and preventing smelters from breaking it down. Hopefully that would reduce the amount of lead dust that is spread via the process of recycling them.
Yeah. Our third and final professional is Colin McIntosh, a sales rep at a technology company in the Bay Area.
Yeah, after reviewing the information and as a sales rep, this really does scream opportunity for me, where I really think I'd be interested in investing in new ways to develop these batteries. And while doing so, also be thinking about the people that we're benefiting from like the harvesting of the batteries and finding new jobs for them to get involved in this newer process. So to summarize again, thinking of new ways to create batteries without the lead, but also creating new positions to employ people that were involved in the process before.
In sum, our professionals agreed on the severity of the issue and suggested different avenues for safeguarding health and livelihoods of the community. Through incorporating a combination of short and long-term interventions, including education, research and development, and buyback options, the health and environmental issues related to the informal recycling of ULAB can be attenuated. Thank you.